no! If you don't follow me on Twitter or Wattpad or Instagram or whatever, you will probably not be aware that I went to Playlist Live this past weekend. And if you follow Thomas on Twitter or anything, you know that he went to Playlist and held meetups there. And I may have met him in person for the first time. I'm warning you right now, I'm gonna talk about everything and I'm gonna be a train wreck, okay? Because I'm gonna talk really, really fast because I'm gonna not realize I'm talking fast until it's too late. And I'm going to probably forget some things and have to backtrack and stuff. So, just warning you right now. I did not vlog at Playlist because it was my first time going there and it was already really, really confusing and very, very flustering without me worrying about having to vlog, so I did not vlog anything there. Although I did take a video of my initial reaction after meeting Thomas that I'll probably insert at some point after I talk about what happened that day. But no, I did not end up vlogging at Playlist. Sorry to disappoint so many of you that I know wanted me to vlog at Playlist. Maybe next year or the year after. We'll see how this channel is doing next year and if I can even go to Playlist. But I'm going to run through what happened at Playlist Live last weekend because I know people want to hear about it and I want to talk about it. So let's start with Saturday. So Saturday I woke up and I was very, very, very nervous. And I mean like really, really nervous, which is really strange because you'd think I would be more excited than I am nervous when I'm talking about meeting my idols and stuff. So it was very strange that I wasn't excited, but I was actually really, really nervous. And so I woke up and I was really nervous. So I wore my Roman tank top and my Roman shoes to show Thomas when I met him. And I'm gonna put the pictures up when I met him later in the video, so you'll see what I'm talking about if you haven't already seen what I'm talking about from the pictures on my social medias. But so I was all Romaned out and fully decked out with Roman stuff and everything, so you could tell I was a fander if you knew what that was. But I got my bag and everything, and I had my little garnet bag with my pins, my standard size pins on them, and I had my Roman t-shirt and I had my Roman shoes and I had my gifts for Thomas, which my gifts for Thomas included a notepad that's it's like a charcoal paper pad, like a big art pad that's like this big. I used it for watercolor since I don't like charcoal, so there was just a ton of watercolor drawings and paintings of just Thomas, because my original intention with that notebook was to give it to him, but I was never actually totally sure if I wanted to. I'm glad I decided to. I was originally gonna have him sign it and keep it myself because it's artwork, and I was very, very unsure about giving it away because I was really, really proud of some of those things. But once I got there, I really, really decided, I realized that there was nothing I was gonna do with them. There was literally nothing I could do with them other than let them sit on my shelf, and I did not want that, and I decided on the spot that I would end up giving them to him and having him sign my Playlist pass instead. But back to the point. I had my art pad full of watercolor drawings, and I had my little ceramic figurine of him, which I have no idea if I actually have pictures of, at least not like a finished picture of it, but it's like a little figurine, ceramic figurine of him, like waving. I originally was going to give him figurines of all of him and the standard sides that were bigger than I intended because they were actually for a project for school, because ceramics is like a graded class, so it was actually part of the project. So my teacher said they had to be a certain size, which they ended up a lot bigger than I intended them to be. They were more like this rather than like this, so that was a bit of a problem for many reasons. I couldn't get them finished in time, one, and two, how on earth would I have carried them? And how would I even have given them to him? Are two things that I'm like, yeah, that definitely wouldn't have worked if I had tried that. Maybe one of them, but there's no way I could get all of them there, because I had made Thomas, I had made all four of the sides and the seat, which, I mean, he is a side, but whatever. So, and they were all like this big or like this big, because like Virgil was laying on a beanbag. I'm gonna put pictures up on the screen of what they look like. So you could obviously understand why I could give those to him even if I had gotten them finished. So I instead decided I was gonna try and make little miniature ones, kind of like game pieces. That was what I was going for, is if they were like little game pieces, the ones with the little black circles on the bottom and stuff. And so I was gonna make him in the four sides, because I wasn't gonna try and make the seat with limited time because I had very, very, very little time to try and get those done, considering my teacher wouldn't let us work with clay after a certain period of time, and I literally had like a week or two to build them. But I made Thomas, and I finished him, and I got him glazed, which is basically a fancy way of saying painting with liquid glass so that when it gets fired again, it's all shiny. And so I got him glazed and I got him finished. His face was a little runny with the black, so I actually used white nail polish and painted over it with the nail polish and then drew on a face with a Sharpie. So I really hope that nail polish doesn't chip off. But I also finished building and first firing Patton and Logan, but I never got to glaze them in time, and I didn't even get to build Roman and Virgil before my teacher said I couldn't work with clay anymore. So I never got to build Virgil or Roman because of how many times I had to keep restarting them, and then I didn't get to glaze Patton and Logan, so I ended up not giving them to him. But I can show you pictures. So those are my gifts for Saturday. I say Saturday because I actually gave him something else on Sunday, but I'll get to that later. So I had my gifts ready to go, and I put them in my bag, and I was totally ready, more or less, to go to Playlist and meet Thomas Sanders. Actual mood. My actual mood is just a noise. It's just But basically, I had all my stuff together. I had it all ready to go, and I got in the car, and I was and my stepdad was driving me, and I just felt really, really nervous. So much so that I didn't even want to think about meeting him because of how nervous I was. And so when I got there, my stepdad dropped me off, but he dropped me off in the wrong place, so I had to walk all the way around to get to registration, and got through registration with a tiny mishap of someone gave me the wrong pass. It was for Aaron Katz instead of Emma Katz. It was like, that was close. But I had my pass and everything, and I had my meetup wristbands and everything, and I was going to the district lines place. Like, I need to go there, like, now, because I know Thomas meetup is at 11. I thought I had been at 11, but apparently it's at 11:30, but I had to go. Funny is I actually had a meetup scheduled in the morning to meet, like, some of the people on the panel were John Cozart, Brizzy Voices, and Brandon Rogers. But since I got there late, because I didn't really know how any of this worked, I didn't realize I was already supposed to be there, so I completely missed their meetup. Which it turns out it was kind of a good thing that I missed their meetup, because had I actually gotten to their meetup, I wouldn't have been able to meet Thomas, or at least not meet him that day, and it was a very good thing I met Thomas that day because he wasn't allowed to sign things on Sunday. So I'm heading to the district line's place, and I get to the district line's room, which is a big room, like a big ballroom or whatever, with like a stage at one end and like all these little booths and everything. I can see the Crofters booth over there, and like next to like the Truth Bombs booth and the Dan and Phil shop booth and all these other little booths and everything everywhere, and then there's a big booth of District Lines merch where you can go buy stuff from the district that you'd see on the District Lines website. And I didn't see the little queue area for like the meetup next to it, so I just walked up to the booth thinking like an idiot, and just was like, where are we supposed to be and everything. But I was just keeping that in my head because I was kind of like, let's not be an idiot in front of everyone and ask what the hell is going on. So I went up to the booth to look around to see if I knew what I was supposed to do. And I was on the ground like putting getting my bags all situated, because there was a big mishap with like how the bags work, and it worked, and if you were allowed to use your own bag and everything, and it was just a mess. But I was figuring that out, and I was like kneeling on the ground, and there's this girl in a scooter in front of me. I apologize if the camera slightly shifted. I had to go on Twitter and make sure I had this girl's name right, because I would feel terrible if I didn't get it right. But there was this girl in a scooter. Her name was Sienna. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I don't think you ever actually said it when we met at Playlist. So I don't actually know if I'm saying that right, but I'll put her icon up on the screen of like from Twitter or whatever. And she was on a scooter talking about Thomas, but I never actually said his name, but she was talking about how like, oh, he's supposed to be here, like it's almost 11, oh my gosh, like where is he, blah, blah, blah. And I laughed because I was like, oh, she's talking about Thomas, yeah. Like, I know the feeling of like what is going on. And she heard my laugh and turned around in her scooter, and then she screamed because I had my Roman tank top on, and she was like, we found a Roman! And it was the funniest thing, because and she was just like, oh my god, like we had a Logan and a Virgil or whatever, and now we found a Roman and everything, and I was just like laughing because I was really, really, I was actually really nervous because I didn't know what was going on, and it was really scary. But then when I stood up, I was in for another surprise. She screamed again and was like, oh my god, you're Emma. And apparently she knows me from Twitter, and that was really, really shocking to have the first fander I meet at Playlist actually know who I am from Twitter. Even though I expected that, I know that sounds really pompous, but I expected that a few fanders would recognize me, but I didn't expect the first person I met at Playlist to be like, oh my god, I know you from Twitter. Yeah, she was like, oh my god, I know you from Twitter, I'm a huge fan or whatever, and I message you sometimes or whatever, and you always ignore me. And I was like, oh, I don't ever ignore anyone on purpose, I swear, I really don't. I'm socially awkward, and I'm very, very busy, and I'm very, very sorry if I don't respond to you or something, because it's probably because I just didn't see it, and I just didn't get around to it, and then by the time I did see it, it was like a month later, and I'm too socially awkward to try and fix it. So I promise I don't actually intentionally ignore anyone. I'm just really, really awkward. I'm very sorry. But I reassured her that I don't ignore anyone or whatever, and I showed her that I saw her on my icon, and then I followed her after this, I believe. Like, we were talking about, like, oh, what was happening with Thomas, and, like, I was like, well, I'm gonna get a hat, because that was the big thing, is I was going to this Slime booth because I wanted a Virgil hat, and my mother would never let me buy it from the online shop because of shipping and stuff. So I walked up to the weird booth thing that had a line. I don't really know how it worked, whatever. But I walked up when there was a person free, and I asked for a hat, and I actually got my hat. It's over here. And I got my Virgil hat, and I had it in my bag and everything. Then I just put it in my bag, and she and a couple of her friends that were with her, we made our way over to the side of the district booth, and saw that there was a queue lined up and everything, and we were like, oh, here we go. Here's where Thomas is. And we just kind of got in line, even though it was like only 10:20 and he wasn't supposed to be there till like 11 and later, and I think 11:30, because I don't think he started until 11:30, which would explain why it was actually supposed to be for 11:30. I can't really remember. I just know that we got there really early. So we were sitting down in line, and we were chatting and whatever, and then Thomas released his new song, On the Borderline, and almost made me cry in line. It was really, really emotional, so it's just like, oh my god, no. No, an emotional song right before meeting him. Are you serious? And so like the girl, like their friends, like Sienna and the other girl, like the other people who were with me that were like hanging out, we were kind of like they were the people that I met, and they were people that kind of knew what was happening, / they had the same YouTuber that they're there for, so we were talking, obviously. And so we were all kind of like, oh my gosh, and they were like, do you need a hug because you look like you're about to cry? And I was like, no, I'm good. But then we were just waiting and sitting and waiting, and then he comes out of the little curtain things and starts waving at everyone, and everyone's screaming or whatever. And I kid you not, I purposely avoided making eye contact or waving because I was terrified, and I was hiding behind people because I was scared to make eye contact with him before it was my turn to go talk to him, which I know probably sounds really weird and really ridiculous, given that the entire point of me going was to meet him and see him and everything. So the fact that I was hiding from him basically for the first half of like the line waiting and everything is kind of funny and really weird if you don't really understand what was going in my mind. But then like the line starts moving and everything, and I'm just so scared and so nervous, and it was literally like I was shaking, and at one point in the line my head started hurting so bad that I actually thought I was gonna pass out. And it wasn't like a, oh my god kind of thing, like, oh my god, I'm gonna pass out. No, like, I legitimately felt dizzy. Like, I kid you not. And I don't even really know why, because I wasn't nervous about, like, talking to Thomas. I don't know how to explain this. It was like, I was scared, but not, like, of Thomas or anything. Like, Thomas is, like, not at all scary whatsoever, unless you're playing JD. But I was just really, really, really nervous, and I don't really know why, but my head was just hurting so bad, and I felt so lightheaded, and I was like actually dizzy to the point where I had to like put my hands on the railing and be like, calm down, because you're actually dizzy. And like it was nuts. And my friend Ray, who I've actually known my entire life, was there too, and they were ahead of me in line, so that like the barrier was here. I was on this side and they were on this side. So when we crossed to the middle, they were talking to me like, oh my gosh, because they had already met him before, but I had not. So they were like, oh my god, I can't, like, I'm so excited for you and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm so scared. And then they had to go up and do their thing, and I was like, and we were just kind of still walking and waiting in line. And we found out that we actually had to buy merch to get into the meetup, which, thank God, because I had bought a hat already, and so I didn't have to worry about taking care of that or anything at the actual meetup or anything like that. But I had already bought a hat, so I got in, so it wasn't a problem. So by the time we get to where I'm like next up, I was literally shaking, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to show him what I had brought him for a gift. I think I was just supposed to put it in the little basket that was there for them because of time, but I might have slipped by them and not let them know that I had gifts until I gave them to him, which I know sounds really bad, but when you worked for almost a month on something for him and other things that took like an entire like half a year to make, like the watercolor paintings, all those watercolor paintings took me like half a year because I started them in like June or July of last year and finished them in December. So when you worked on something for that long, you're kind of just like, please God, let me show this to him so that I can at least get some sort of reaction. So they didn't stop me or anything, so I don't think it was a huge problem. But they didn't say it directly either. I just heard them talking, so I don't really know what that was the deal. But I got up and I was putting my bags down because I had the clear plastic drawstring bag from Playlist and my garnet bag with my pins, and I was putting it down on the table and everything, and the person who was in front of me was walking away, and Thomas turns and he's like, is that Emma? And I kid you not, I don't really remember anything of what I said, or I don't really remember all of what he said either, because of how scared and how nervous and how much adrenaline was going on during that time. I do know I said yes and that I was hugging him because duh. If you meet Thomas Sanders, you need to give him a hug because there's something wrong with you if you don't, because he gives the best hugs. So I was hugging him or whatever, and like when I like pulled away from the hug and everything, I was like, oh my God, you're real. Like, cause there's that surreal feeling of seeing someone you've seen online in real life and you're like, you have 3 dimensions? But I was like, oh my God, you're real, holy crap. And then he was like, oh my God, you're real. Like as if it was the same thing that I was feeling towards him, like he was feeling towards me, which was really, really crazy. And I can't really remember what order this happened now because it gets a little fuzzy of which thing I did first and which thing happened, but I think I gave him the figurine first, and I was like, oh yeah, and I made this for you, and I gave him the little figurine. He's like, oh my God, you did not. And I was like, I did, and he was like, what's it made out of? And I was like, ceramic, and he was like, ceramic? Like, what? And I was on my phone because I was like pulling up the pictures that I showed you earlier in the video of the things that I was gonna bring and the things I didn't get to finish and everything, and like showing them to him, and he was just in awe, and he was like, whoa, like oh, those are so cute, and like those are, and then when I showed him the bigger ones that I didn't get to finish or whatever, he was like, whoa, those are like way bigger. And I was like, yeah, I didn't get to finish them, and I don't really know how I would have brought them because I would have had to bring like a giant box, and that probably would have been a problem. And he like laughed at that and everything, which is really, really nice. I was glad I got to make him laugh like as much. I got to make him laugh a lot in person, which is really, really, it's a really good feeling. But after I gave him the strike and everything, I pointed down at my shoes because I was wearing my Roman shoes, and I was like, oh, I made these shoes things, and he like, his jaw like dropped, and he was like, oh my gosh, you did not, and everything, and he was like, those are freaking amazing. And he was like, he like talked to the camera lady or whatever, and he was like, can we please get a picture of me like reacting to the shoes, because he was just so shocked by them, and I'll put that up on the screen. But I was just standing there kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm actually talking in person to Thomas Sanders. And I was like, I pulled up my phone and I showed him the pictures of the morality ones, and he was like, oh my God, they're adorable, like, geez. Like, he was just really shocked at like everything that I was showing him and everything. And then I asked him to sign my playlist pass, which I'll go grab. And I had him sign my playlist pass, which you can see that's his right there. That's his signature. I also have Cranked Up Frank's signature and Eva's signature, his girlfriend. And so I had him sign my pass. And while he was signing my pass, the pad of like watercolors was next to it on the table. So, and I pointed to it, I was like, oh, and that's for you as well. because I was originally gonna have to sign it, but decided last minute, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. So I was like, I'm gonna just give it to him. And so like he's like, no way. And like I was like, yeah, it's like it's like a book of like watercolors and stuff that you've seen a lot of them on Instagram actually. And he like he flipped through it real quick. He's like, oh my gosh, like I knew you were gonna blow my mind when I met you. And I kid you not, that like is really crazy to think about right now. But yeah, that happened, and he signed a little pass or whatever, and he came back over, and I was like, I thanked him briefly, because that was the thing. I didn't actually know what I was gonna say. I did not plan ahead and figure out what I was gonna say. So I thanked him briefly for everything that like he helped me with, or like I was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much it helps. Like I can't put into words. Got a little choked up, and he hugged me again, and then we hugged me. I took the picture, and I'll put that up. And so yeah, and it was just like a lot of crazy adrenaline and everything. And so I don't really know what we said when we were like left. I do know that when I was doing my bags and everything, I was like, oh, and I have the pins, and I have my shirt, and he was like, goodness gracious, and I was just like, yeah, walking trash can. But yeah, and then I was left the Saturday meetup, and while I was leaving, some girl, I don't know who you are, I don't know if you're watching this, but you're really sweet, and it was really, really scary that like you asked me that, because as I was walking, this girl who was in the line to meet him, who was still waiting, like called to me and asked me like, and said like, wait, please, and I walked back and I was like, huh? And they were like, I'm actually like a really huge fan of you on like Twitter and everything, and I was wondering if I could get a picture with you. And I didn't say it because I was all the adrenaline. I was like, oh yeah, sure, and like leaned in and she took a selfie with me. And but in my head I was like, I'm standing like 10 feet away from Thomas Sanders and she's asking me for a picture? What the actual hell? Like, it was nuts, and it was just like, okay. And I was really scared because I was just like, oh my gosh, get a quick picture and then get out of there, because I don't want to make it look like I'm I don't want to make it look like I'm feeding off of everything that Thomas has worked on and everything. And I'm really paranoid about those things, because I know a lot of Thomas's fan base. Like, I know that like the people who do follow me are definitely people who follow Thomas. So I didn't want that to look like I was just like using his popularity to whatever. I don't know. I'm really paranoid about those kind of things, okay? But I like ran and I was like away, and I was like, oh my god, that just happened. And I'll put my like little video in there of what happened right afterwards. So I just met Thomas Sanders, and I want to cry. And I got to show him my shoes, and I got to show him pictures of the morality shoes, and he loved them so much. And I got to give him my little figurine, and I got to show him, or give him my paintings, my watercolor paintings. And I can't even process what just happened. He's real, and it went by so quickly, and I didn't say enough of what I wanted to say. And I'm literally going to freak. I'm going to pass out. I'm so excited. I'm just gonna put this in my vlog afterwards. So great. It was so nuts. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so I went and tried Crofters, which is amazing, by the way. I highly recommend you getting it, because like I hate jam. I actually do not like jam at all, but I love Crofters. So, you know, I don't know what kind of witchcraft they do down at Crofters, but I actually like it, and I don't like jam. So there you go try Crofters. I'll probably put the link down there just because I'm a shameless trash can for Thomas Sanders, so anything I can do to support him, I will do. But I went and tried Crofters, and then I was messaging my friend Kristen on Twitter. Oh, I'll put her like icon up on the screen. I don't know, maybe you want to go follow her. She's a cool person. I was messaging her and I was freaking out. And I was messaging Ray and I was freaking out. And I was just like, oh my god. And then Kristen was like making her way over to from her AM meetup, because she went to the meetup. At the AM meetup with John Cozart and Brizzy and Brandon Rogers and stuff. But so she was coming back to just Klein's place. So I was just waiting around for her to show up and meeting her and everything. And when she got there, it was really crazy because I'd never met her before in real life. And so we were hugging and everything, and she introduced me to her friend Mikal. I think that's how I say your name. I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but you're awesome, so please don't hate me. But she introduced me to her friend Mikal, and the three of us went and got food. And by food, I mean Mikal ordered food, Christian ordered fries, and I got ice cream because I'm nuts and wasn't hungry for anything other than ice cream, so great. So we got food, and then I went back to their hotel room because they were staying at the hotel. Because I live here, so I didn't have to stay at a hotel. But so I went back with them to their hotel room, and we just hung there for a little while. And then I went down with Christian to go see Dodie's panel, and we bumped into Kenny. It was funny because Christian was the one looking for Kenny, but I found him first, and I spotted him immediately, and I was like, there he is. And she was like, wait, where? And I'm like, he's literally right there. How do you not? And so we made our way over to him, and we talked to him like very, very briefly, but he was trying to go see Dodie, and Dodie had to go. So he was like, oh my gosh, gotta go fast. And like rushed over to see if he could talk to Dodie, and before Dodie left, and then Dodie had to go to something else. So we didn't get to do much with him or whatever, and Christian had someone who she met earlier sign her ukulele. I don't actually remember who it was, because I actually don't watch that many YouTubers outside of the ones you know I watch, and so I actually had no idea who it was, and I was thankful that they did not ask if I wanted anything. I was just like, blend in with the background, don't draw attention to yourself because you don't actually know who these people are. So yeah, she got her ukulele signed by them, by that person, and then we went back to the hotel room, and once we got back to the hotel room, we were just hanging out. She and her friend Vanessa went down to go do something. I don't actually remember what it was they were going to do. I think they were going to get food. Yeah, they were getting food. And so me and Mikal stayed at the room, and we started chatting about all these different things, like writing and Thomas Sanders and like fan fiction and like how everything plays into one another, and like how like relationships work with like friendships and everything, and how all that works and everything. It was nuts. We had some of like the deepest, that was one of like the deepest conversations and most complex conversations I've ever had, and I had just met her that day, and I'm like, what? Like when I think about that, I'm like, I am not a very open person. So the fact that like we were, and I don't really know if she's an open person, but I didn't gather that she was from talking to her. She seemed more like me, but I don't really know. I've only known her for 2 days, but like she didn't seem like that kind of open person. But we were very like open with each other and like trusted each other, or at least I definitely trusted her. She seemed to open up about a few things that I would expect someone I just met to open up to, or I would hope that no one expected me to open up about. But we chatted for a long time, like hours, and like it was a very intelligent conversation, which I appreciate. I don't get to have many of those with my friends because a lot of them are fake. But then Christian and Vanessa came back, and we were all just like deciding what to do. And eventually, Christian, Mikal, and I, we went down to see Thomas perform live that night at the main stage of Playlist at the District Lines area. And so he sang things we used to share live, and they sang On the Borderline live, and then he sang Anything from his show live, everything. And it was all so freaking amazing. I can't explain it enough that he is just as perfect in real life as he is on the freaking internet. And I know he's like, oh my god, I'm not perfect, because I have many flaws. And I'm like, your flaws make you perfect, Thomas Sanders. Stop arguing with us. But yes, he is just as amazing live, if not more amazing live, than he is online when you hear him sing. So that was amazing, and I almost cried 3 times because there were 3 songs, and every single one of those songs has the power to make me cry if they're strong enough, which when Thomas singing, it's definitely strong enough. So I was this close to crying like 3 times. Before he came out though, we saw John Kozart perform, which was very, very last minute and everything. It was nuts because they were 45 minutes late. It was really funny. He was like improvising. He was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Like singing Go to Distance, and it was like, this is the part where there's like 5 minutes of just instrumental forever and whatever, and so I'm just gonna improvise. So like, how are you guys and stuff like that. It was really funny. He was talking about how like, well, if I still have like 5 minutes to stall or whatever, and I don't know what made him curse, but he was like shit for some reason, and then like it was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that or whatever, and he like kept going, and then he was looking at the crowd, and he's like, oh, right above your head there's a little screen that says no cursing please, and then like everyone laughed, and he was like, well, darn. So then, like, after him, Thomas came out, and then after Thomas, Dodie came out and played, and it was really, really good. And then after that, we got more ice cream, because I'm obsessed with ice cream, and then I went home, and they went back to their hotel room. And then Sunday. So while editing my playlist vlog, I've hit the problem of it being too long. And so I have to do this really, really awkward jump cut to explain that, so I can say that Sunday is in part 2, so you can go watch the rest of this vlog on part 2 because I could not fit, I literally couldn't export the video by keeping it all in one, which was my original intention. But I'm very sorry about this weird jump cut thing, but letting you know, part 2 is over there. I tell you about Sunday, and Sunday was way better than Saturday, so I talk about Sunday. Go watch it if you want. Bye.